From childhood, we are taught how to look at time. Numbers on the calendar, birthdays, New Year's that come and go. In most of the world, this means counting from the start of the new era, from the coming of Jesus Christ. And since the mid-20th century, Darwinian philosophy has increasingly been imposed, telling us that years mean nothing more than another celebration of Earth's revolution around the sun. But we are rarely asked, what are we truly measuring? Only the surface of time? Or perhaps a deeper, hidden clock that beats through human history? If such a clock exists, then the story of time is not mere mathematics, but the very meaning of our existence. And perhaps we are all much closer to its great turning point than we realise. In the previous video, we spoke about the Christian, more precisely, the Abrahamic calendar of the world's age. Now we turn to the Vedic understanding of time and the so-called Yuga cycles. The word Yuga simply means an age or a period. One great cycle called Mahayuga is made up of 4 smaller but unequal ages: Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. According to today's official interpretation, the Kali Yuga lasts 432,000 years, and all 4 together span 4.32 million years. But is that really what the ancient texts intended to say? When we look back at the original scriptures, we find a very different picture. The Manu Smriti and the Mahabharata speak of a cycle of only 12,000 years, 4,800 for Satya Yuga, 3,600 for Treta, 2,400 for Dvapara, and only 1,200 for Kali Yuga. However, the texts are not fully explicit. They do not specify whether these are human years or divine years. Later commentators interpreted the numbers in 2 different ways. And so the confusion arose. Human years were converted into so-called divine years. The numbers were multiplied by 360. And from this came the idea of incredibly long cycles. Some authorities warned against this. Already in the Middle Ages, the commentator Medatithi wrote that it was wrong to interpret these times as divine years. In the 19th century, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, in his book The Holy Science, offered a similar critique. According to him, the true cycle lasts 24,000 years, divided into descending and ascending yugas. Similar thoughts are found among modern teachers such as Sadhguru, who links the yugas with Earth's precession of 25,920 years, and scholars like Pandit Bhagwat Dutt, who insisted that Treta and Dvapara could not have lasted hundreds of thousands of years. If this topic is part of your culture, you may feel that shortening the years is a kind of sacrilege. By the usual tradition, the present Kali Yuga is said to last for more than 400,000 years still to come, which sounds rather depressing. Give me, however, a chance to explain a different view, one without the 360 times inflation of years. To begin, let us take the official archaeological start of the Copper Age, around 5,500 BC, as our reference point. The Septuagint reads that moment as the beginning year of a world, allegorically the first of the 6 biblical days, that is, 6 millennia. From there, archaeology and the Septuagint agree on one thing. About 6,000 years lead to the onset of the collapse of the old classical world. Now compare the yugas. Treta plus Dvapara together make roughly 6,000 years, and they precede the onset of Kali. The arithmetic lines up again. Incredible, isn't it? If we then add Satya Yuga before the Copper Age, it's 4,800 years. We arrive at about 10,300 BC. That is the dawn of the Neolithic, the end of the last ice age, and even the window in which scholars discuss a great impact event, the Younger Dryas hypothesis. It is not for nothing that Plato places the fall of Atlantis in a similar era. And then come the descriptions of the yugas. Satya, an age of truth, justice, long life, and spiritual greatness. Few great wars, communities live in peace and plenty. Isn't it striking that the early Neolithic, up to about 5,500 BC, is sometimes called a paradise period by archaeologists? Towns without walls, more egalitarian societies, no mass graves, almost none severe war wounds in skeletons, and abundant food. Hard to call that a mere coincidence, especially when it falls within Satya.
But wait, if the early Neolithic really matches Satya, an idyllic society, why haven't we proved average lifespan longer than 35 years for that period?
Good question. By the principle of Satya and biblical scripture, people would live in non-aging bodies for hundreds of years. But science cannot yet prove or disprove that from archaeology alone. What we can show factually is this. In the early Neolithic up to the Copper Age, there's a unique mismatch between the number of dwellings and the proportional number of graves.
So, you're saying that because we find far fewer graves than houses, people may have lived for centuries in the early Neolithic, potential Satya period, and simply rarely needed to bury their dead?
That's exactly what I'm saying. The entire period stands out, by every measure. Now let's continue. Treta brings a gradual decline, yet spirituality and harmony still prevail. Dvapara is marked by greed, conflict, and shorter lifespans, which also echoes biblical descriptions. Since the timelines match, Kali Yuga starts around AD 500. The Roman Empire breaks apart, Islam rises and transforms a quarter of the known world, Europe slips into the Dark Ages, and India faces its own crisis. The pieces lock together, without inflating the years. By these shared calculations, it seems we have only recently emerged from Kali Yuga and are passing through a kind of spiritual cleansing, the entry phase of a new Satya Yuga. The 12,000-year cycle aligns not only with the Bible and archaeology, but also with the late Holocene, visible climate shifts, the half-period of axial precession within the Milankovitch cycles, and the controversial Gothenburg geomagnetic excursion, which some argue may be repeating even now. If you still have doubts, listen to this. There have long been theories that elements of the Abrahamic religions can be found in Vedic teachings. It is no coincidence that the life paths and qualities of Lord Rama and Krishna are often compared with those of Abraham and Christ. Abraham, formerly known as Abram, may in fact have been Lord Rama. Even the name suggests it. Abram can be read as Father Rama. Their lives also reveal striking parallels. Rama, just like Abraham, goes through long trials, exile, and separation from his family. Both figures are tied to the idea of a righteous king or patriarch who must sacrifice personal comfort in service of a higher divine plan. Abraham places his faith in God even when asked to make the greatest sacrifice, while Rama remains faithful to Dharma even when it leads him into banishment. Both stand as models of obedience and faith. Now let's turn to the chronological overlap. Hindu teachings state that Rama lived at the end of the Treta Yuga, which according to modern calculations would take us hundreds of thousands of years back. Yet, if we take a more open-minded calculation, without those inflated years, Rama would have lived somewhere before 1900 BC, marking the close of the Treta Yuga. Fascinatingly, according to the Septuagint Bible, Abraham was born in 2166 BC. Their timelines basically coincide. And now Krishna. His life story is almost a mirror image of that of Jesus, beginning with a miraculous birth, a tyrant king seeking to destroy him, gathering disciples, performing miracles, preaching love and devotion. Like Jesus, Krishna multiplies food, heals, and offers a universal message of salvation. In the end, both die violent deaths, Jesus on the cross, Krishna struck by an arrow, yet both continue to live on in the spirit of their followers. The records even say that after Krishna's departure, the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness and moral decline, began. And remarkably, about 500 years after Jesus, the Western world also entered its own dark age, with the fall of the Roman Empire and centuries of wars, diseases, immorality, and spiritual blindness. Such parallels can hardly be mere coincidence. Isn't it strange that we haven't so far tied all this together into a single, coherent picture? It looks so simple, so clear, once you see the pattern. Perhaps that too is the legacy of Kali Yuga, a long season of spiritual blindness. Think about it. Until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.